Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Housing for Good. I'm Karolyn.
And I'm Chris.
All right, Chris. For news today, I want to say something about Brush Up Mac.
Perfect.
Going to keep hounding this home for everybody, but March 20 is the last day for homeowners, to get their applications in, so we have time to process them and figure out what exactly they want to have done, and if we have volunteers that are willing to do it. Talented enough to do it. So
yeah, we have lots of talented volunteers.
Yeah.
So please, if you need help, fill out an application. There's somebody that I'm supposed to call back, which, by the way, I haven't yet, but I will make sure their application gets in on time because she's pushing 90. I mean, she really needs some assistance. And I mean, I hope when I'm pushing 90, you think I'll live that long?
Of course.
When I'm pushing 90, that someone's going to come help me.
Yeah.
Please help me.
Well,
remember this.
Yeah. And now if you are somebody that works for one of our industries, you want to come up with a team, or maybe you attend church someplace and your youth group would be interested in participating, or maybe you want to put together a team of adults, we would love to have you. Now is the time to start sending in the volunteer applications, so we can, once we get the homeowner applications, we have the volunteer teams, we can figure out who's going to work on what home and just continue to organize everything. So,
yeah, and this is a fun day, and I say this every single time. It's my favorite day of the year.
Favorite day.
Love it. Better than anything else, and we do a lot, but the podcast is pretty fun too, but I do love Brush Up Max. So I have a question. I'm so excited.
Do tell.
It's kind of a long question, but it's from someone that we know.
Okay.
And Karolyn loves, and I don't know if I love or not, but...
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah,
okay,
go.
Then you have to answer it because I can't. Okay. Good afternoon, Chris and Mom, a.k.a. Karolyn. I love listening to your podcast and learning about all the programs that are out there to help those in need. And I love that you guys are taking the time to let people know about them by doing these interviews. You guys really are making a difference, and I'm excited to see what's to come in the future. I want to ask you the question that you always ask at the end of so many of your podcast interviews. That's so fun that they're paying. This person is paying attention. If you had no boundaries and money wasn't an issue, and people and resources weren't an issue, what would you like to see happen with your program? What is your big dream you want to accomplish? Thanks for all you do. Have a great day and God bless. Praying for your continued success and all that you do, and for more right connections for you guys. Love you, Mom, Candace.
Oh, she's sweet.
I know that's none of my kids have written in. That's it. I'm jealous. I'm making them write in. All right, grandkids and son, if you hear this question, I expect a question.
Okay, so if money was no object and we had all the resources we need, then I think that we would literally house everybody. Everybody would have a house. We would keep moving forward with that part of it. Workforce housing. We would have everything we need for all of our manufacturers and industries in town. And there would be no homeless people.
I love it.
So that would be my dream.
That is a dream, that anybody that finds themselves in a crisis, that we can instantly help. We don't have to put them on a waiting list of 30 people. I think that's what it is right now.
Yeah.
That would be amazing to be able to say, oh, nope, we can help you. Here you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
we can take care of that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I mean, the big dream is to continue to build. But I was thinking about this the other day. My mind never shuts off. It's quite frightening. But what I would like to see is not only building housing, but creating neighborhoods where people love and support one another. It's not just about building housing, but we really want to create community.
Yeah.
So you can go next door and you can say, hey, do you need help? Or I can take your child to school, or maybe I can watch him after school, or whatever that looks like, and create not only housing, but these really cool communities where people can relate to one another and support one another.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep, that's the dream. So we'll just keep working that direction.
Keep it on. Okay.
So last week we talked with Jana about our trip to Topeka, and we got a high school student's perspective on that.
Yeah, that was fun.
So
that was super fun.
Today we thought we would tell you kind of what we went there to talk with our legislators about, and the issues that Kansas Housing Advocacy Network are working towards. Some of these never made it out of committee. Others were voted on. And but can you believe there were 20 housing bills in this session.
Oh, there was that many?
20.
I didn't realize that. That's amazing because I'm not so sure in the past we've really been able to get it that far.
Yeah.
So that's pretty impressive. So, a quick intro to this is our advocacy work. We're not pushing agendas. We're explaining why this stuff's important.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we want to make sure that tenants are being treated fairly? Why do we want to make sure that homes are being taken care of appropriately? Why are we doing this stuff? Well, because it matters.
Yeah.
It matters to our communities. When you have, I don't want to use the word slumlords, I said that already, but when you have landlords maybe who are not taking care of their properties, and then it's not safe for a tenant to live there.
Not safe for a tenant. It's not safe for a child.
Well, I know. That's what I mean, a whole family. And so when that happens, then those people are displaced, right? So now we've just added more people to the homeless situation. And so those are the kind of things, those are real stories that we have to tell. And so that's what our advocacy work looks like more than anything else. It's not, we don't call and say, hey, I need you to vote this way or that way. We're saying, here's the consequences of not doing something. Here's what is happening in Kansas right now.
Yeah.
So that's really what our advocacy work looks like. Anyways.
And this year was completely different because in years past, we have been able to call or email our representatives and set up a time to actually sit down and talk with them, have a 15-minute conversation about what's going on, what are we doing in McPherson, what are you hearing on these different bills and stuff. And this year, they were in session.
Yeah.
So,
which was super fun. I had never sat in on a session before. I saw the Senate side, which is pretty calm, but my understanding is that you saw the House side, which was kind of crazy.
Oh, yeah.
They were like yelling and stuff. I'm so darn it, I missed it.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see that.
So we went up and sat on the House side, which is, what, twice as many people or more than twice as many people as on the Senate side, which was kind of crazy to me. But I guess you know that, but I don't think about it till you see everybody in those chambers.
I know.
And the seating on the Senate side, it was like, there's barely any place to sit. What's the deal? And you get to the House and they have this whole gallery, great big spot for everybody to sit and watch. And they're way more rowdier. There was yelling.
That would have been so much fun. I'm so sorry that I missed it. I love rowdiness when it's not involved with me, right?
Yeah, it kind of reminded me, we just watched the State of the Union address and there was some hollering and stuff going on in there. Yeah. And it was like, oh my gosh, they really do this in Kansas too.
I know, right? People would be shocked at some of the things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Senate, they act better or something. They're much more sophisticated and regal or whatever. On the House side, I'm surprised they weren't throwing fruit or something. That would have been funny.
I think they must have really strict guidelines about throwing fruit. But they were very vocal in their opposition of what somebody was saying, and so yeah. So, but it was fun. It's always it's such a beautiful building to go to.
Oh, it's gorgeous,
and it just feels like it's a very important place to be when we go there. So,
and I will say, if you're interested in what that looked like, we have a video on Facebook, LinkedIn. I think we might have put it on LinkedIn and Facebook. So we have all the social media stuff for McPherson Housing Coalition. So go check it out if you're interested.
Yeah,
we didn't show anybody throwing fruit or anything. That would have been pretty hilarious. And I don't think we captured the hollering either. That would have been really good. We got to get better about what we're capturing on our stuff.
Well, now that we know it goes on, we'll know what to look for.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna watch better next time.
Okay.
All right.
So I wanted us to talk about some of these bills that KHAN, Kansas Housing Advocacy Network, was trying to let our representatives know that we support or we do not support, given that we are the housing agencies across the state of Kansas. And so one of them was that if there is not a code in your city for maintenance, we want to have a property maintenance code for non-owner occupied residential rental properties. And this has to go back to, there were a couple of communities that basically were shut down because the apartments were not habitable. Do you remember that?
Yeah, people were living in homes, and then they got shut down, and all those people became homeless because there was no habitability standards. And so by the time the city or somebody came to inspect, it was too late.
Yeah, too late to do anything.
And honestly, I'm not so sure. Even with single-family dwellings where people live, I've seen some things that are not habitable.
Yeah,
I mean, there really needs to be a standard statewide of habitable rental housing, even for single-family. But I know this bill specifically talks about rental housing.
Yeah.
I mean, as an appraiser, I've been in some things that are pretty horrific. Somebody put down plywood as the flooring, and that's what was there. And they were like, well, they're going to tear it up anyway, so I don't really want to fix this. And I'm like, yeah, I understand that, but you are renting it, and you are getting some money out of it. So there should be some kind of standard for people. But, I mean, and there's something in place. There's a nationally recognized 2012 International Property Maintenance Code. So it's not like we have to reinvent the wheel, right?
Yeah.
It's already here. Let's just adopt it statewide, and that's the end of it.
Well, do you want to hear something crazy? Kansas is one of only 2 states in the nation that don't have default codes.
Oh, wow.
How bad does that make us look?
Yeah.
There are no minimum codes. So that is one thing that, and to be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure where that ended up.
Yeah. I don't. Some of these bills, I wasn't sure how that, because I know that we have landlords that are on the Senate and the House side, and so they see this from a completely different perspective than, say, us who maybe advocates for tenants and people that are renting. But the thing about it is, it's good for Kansas landlords because it protects the responsible ones. Sometimes landlords get a really bad rap, and it's not their fault. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, and it reduces legal risk. So we have to look at that thing. It's not all negative on the landlord side if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Oh, absolutely.
Then it's and it supports property value and long-term investment. Nobody wants to live next door to a house that is not being maintained. That lowers my property value as a single family owner of a property. That's not really fair to me that you're not maintaining your property.
Yeah.
So that's a huge effect on single family owners.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. And then another bill, this came out of the Senate side, was to allow city inspections for non-owner occupied residential rental properties. And again, they kind of go hand in hand. This also helps where if you have somebody that is reporting their property, apparently there's an issue with the city just going in and doing an inspection. And so they're trying to get it set up to where that can happen. The city would have the authority to inspect rental units to make sure that any unsafe conditions are reported, and that the renters who report problems are not retaliated against or evicted simply because they drew attention to the condition of their home.
And I thought, I'm not 100% sure, but I thought this came out of Lawrence. They have some type of rule there, and they had a landlord there who owns quite a few rentals, and he really pushed this bill because he didn't like the idea that the city could come in and check that stuff out.
Yeah.
But, this really helps with safe homes, stable neighborhoods, and stronger communities. When we have these things in place, it really makes it better for the neighbors, for the person who lives in the home. Because we don't always we're looking at the tenant, right? But what about the neighbors? Again, what about the neighbors?
Yeah.
What about the community as a whole? Do we want to live in neighborhoods where you've got all this spotted housing that has it deteriorating? Nobody wants to have that in their neighborhood, because then the crime increases, property values go down. I've spent a lot of time in my home. I don't want that for my neighborhood, quite honestly.
I work really hard to keep my house nice and livable, and although my yard looks terrible right now because we just put the basement in, but that's okay. Spring is coming. But you want your property to look nice, and you want the value to be there. And if my house looks nice, then my neighbors notice, and maybe they do a little bit more to keep their house nice, and kind of like that brush up Mac thing we talk about, it spreads. So but we want the cities to have the right to come in and check. And again, like we said, if you are a good landlord, this does nothing to harm you.
Yeah, it ensures safer, habitable homes. So that's what we want for everybody. It's really, really important. So what do we got next?
Okay, so another one was, and this one kind of surprised me, although it shouldn't have, because I think we've experienced this, but if I am a renter and I say I go to, I'm just going to make up a name.
Okay.
I go to the Bloomfield Estates to put in an application to live there.
Bloomfield Estates.
Yeah, there is no such place in McPherson.
That is awesome.
And so I pay my application fee, and maybe it's $125. I've heard of it being more than that. And not only do I not get approved to live there, but I don't get that money back. It's just gone. But even if I then was approved to live there, I've paid this money for the application fee. Now is when, after I sign my lease, is when they tell me, oh, by the way, there's a $30 charge on top of your rent for water. It's an additional $25 a month for the trash pickup. There's all these hidden fees. Mm-hmm. So instead of my rent being $750, which is what I thought it was going to be, it's closer to $835. Well, that's only $85 difference. But if I'm on a fixed income or I'm very tight on my budget, that's $85 I wasn't counting on. And they don't have to disclose it prior to my signing the lease.
I think this also caps those late fees that people have to pay. There's a thing on the bill that says Kansas Supreme Court recently upheld a judgment awarding $21,240 in late fees on $5,700 in past due rent.
Oh my
so basically,
gosh.
they only owed $5,700, and when they started adding up all the late fees, it was over $21,000.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, that's highway robbery. I
Yeah.
mean, that just seems unconscionable to me that that's something that we're looking at. But there's just all these hidden fees. And the one that gets me, and I don't know if that's part of this bill or not, but I can go and apply to live in a home, and I may or may not get it, but they want all this stuff up front, and now I'm out $200 or $300 for all this stuff that I have to have, background checks and credit checks and all this stuff. I don't get the apartment, and then I'm out all of this money. That always bothered me too.
It bothers me.
You know, that I mean, why are you taking 10 people's stuff, and you know you only have one unit? Mm-hmm. I mean, it just, I don't know. It doesn't sound right. Maybe
it just
I'm
feels
wrong.
very dishonest.
Yeah. So that's that one.
Okay. Well, and then this next one kind of goes along with the theme of what we're talking about. If you are not a good landlord, you are a negligent landlord, and you don't keep your properties nice, this bill coming out of the Senate would force you to keep your properties habitable. So renters in cities across the state have struggled and failed to hold rental properties to basic habitability standards. And again, this goes back to those places in Gardner and Topeka and Wichita where the landlord wasn't even in the state of Kansas, the person that owned it. They had no idea what kind of condition their property was in. And by the time it was discovered how bad it was, people were immediately evicted. Well, not even evicted. You got to leave now. It's not habitable.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to come up with a bill that would basically make that kind of a situation fall under the Kansas Consumer Protection Act.
Mm-hmm. Where it should be anyways. I mean, that every time you buy something, you fall under that. Why is this not the same? You're purchasing a product.
Yeah.
Right? Every month you're purchasing a product. I don't understand why it wasn't there in the beginning.
Yeah.
That's just common sense.
It is. It is.
Yeah,
common
that's just
sense.
common sense. So, yeah.
And again, along with the theme of these others, it maintains the property value of not only that home, but also my home, who I live next door, you know, or the community, the neighborhood and everything. So, and then another thing they point out is the taxpayer cost. So when there's an emergency condemnation, there is an issue for taxpayers because now we need more shelters, we need more crisis service providers, we need more services to help those folks that are, you know, being shoved out under nothing they've done.
And, you know, that actually happened, something sort of similar when we've had it happen twice where they took mobile home places and they evicted everybody. And now we've got 30 or 40 families who have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And so luckily in our particular case, the city kind of rallied and we figured it out. But it put a burden not only on each individual person, but the taxpayers. We were having to figure out, what do we do? Where do we find money? We're having to raise money and do this and do that, so we don't have 30 families living on the street.
Yeah.
I mean, but it was instant. I mean, they literally had to get out very, very quickly. It was a really terrible situation. So it might not it happens in your neighborhood, but you might not be aware of it, right? That we lived in Wichita, we might not have noticed.
Yeah.
But in our community of 14,000 people, it was pretty apparent.
Yeah.
That was awful.
And I think that, Garner, Topeka, and Wichita, when that happened, it was noticed.
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying. Sometimes things happen and you don't get the full story.
Yeah,
so.
Especially in bigger places. So the next one, this Kansas Values Safe Homes, Stable Neighborhoods, HB 2768, Freedom to Timely Payment and Income Consideration. So this is an interesting one because landlords do not have to accept partial payments from different entities. For instance, some people have VA benefits, and they're not going to accept that. I don't understand why a landlord wouldn't accept that. I mean, we have a rental property that we have a Section 8 voucher on our tenant, and it's great. I mean, you get the money every month. You never have to worry about it.
Yep.
And we're good landlords. We make sure the property is in good condition. We check on the property quite often, and we don't have problems. So maybe we're lucky. I don't know. That's a different story, I guess. But they block those multiple payments from the family. So you can have SSI, SSDI, which is Social Security Disability, or cash earnings. I mean, there's lots of different things that are available, but they only want one specific thing. So I guess you have to go put it in the bank. Is that how they do it?
You have to pay through a portal.
Yes.
And you're allowed to do one payment per month.
Yes.
And if you find yourself in a bind, maybe you get our local agency, Churches United Ministry, will help you with your rent. Or maybe it's one of the local churches. You go to church there, your minister says, hey, we'll help you with this. They will not accept their money.
Yeah.
And so now you just found yourself in a situation where you're looking at eviction because they won't accept multiple payments.
And so that makes it really difficult for families that are struggling or that have a little bit of assistance. I mean, that's what a Section 8 voucher is for, to help a low-income family stay housed.
Yeah.
And so why are you not accepting? And I understand it's probably difficult if your portal only allows one thing. And I know for some of these, they're not going to write the check specifically to the person who needs the funds.
They never write it.
They're going to
to
write
that
it to the landlord, right? So they want to make sure it gets where it's supposed to go. Well, if there's no way for me to use that voucher, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah. Well, and this does happen in McPherson. We do have a couple of places that I just tell people when they talk to me, if you're going to have a voucher or you have income coming from anything other than a job, don't even apply there because they're not going to, they'll take your money for the application fee, but they're not going to rent to you. And then the final one, and I think this was one where you and I feel pretty strongly about it. You know, we work really hard every year with the Kansas Legal Services. There you go. I lost my word. To help people who have made a mistake in the past, and they have worked really hard to overcome that, and that judgment, that felony, whatever that is, and we help them get an expungement to get it off their record. And you and I have been told multiple times that this changed my life. All of a sudden, that mistake I made, that I've been, trying to live the right way for years now, came off my record, and I can get a job. I can get a new place to live. That felony is not going to show up there. But evictions are one of those things that it doesn't even have to be charged against you. You don't have to be found guilty. You just have to have it filed in the court.
Yeah, it might not even went through the court. It makes no sense at all, right? So again, it doesn't make any sense how this is working. If you've had an eviction, or even if you've had somebody file against you, that you should have a way to get rid of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not talking about a habitual person.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Every 6 months they're getting evicted from somewhere because for whatever reason they can't stabilize their family. I understand that. And if a landlord, that's different. But somebody that hasn't had an eviction in 5 years, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, they've obviously stabilized. They're obviously doing better. But because of this eviction, they're limited as to where they can live. I mean, not everybody's going to accept that.
Yeah.
So that makes it really difficult. I think this is a no-brainer again. And a lot of our legislators, when we brought this up, they had no idea. And I don't know that we did at first either until Kahan said, hey, this is a bill we're trying to get, and here's what's going on with it. But, I mean, we really have to allow people to mess up and then fix what they've done and move forward, because they're never going to be able to get out of poverty. They're never going to be able to stabilize their housing if we don't have some common sense laws.
Yeah.
This is common sense. It's good for everybody, the landlords, the people that have had it. And if I had an eviction, they went to the courthouse and filed an eviction on me, and I hurried up and paid them what they needed, and then we just kept moving on. Well, what? I mean, that's not fair.
Yeah, why is that held against you? And I will say for people that are listening, Chris and I have been doing this for a few years now, trying to stay informed and aware of what's happening, having a relationship with our federal and state representatives and senators, and even we have trouble keeping up with what's going on. You can look at their, what do they call it, their daily ledger that says what they're going to be talking about in Topeka.
How many bills did they have that day? Like 50 or
53 or something
bills?
like that.
And they're like swinging them through. I'm like, how do you even know 53 things to even be able to vote on this appropriately?
Yeah.
How could you even know that?
Yeah. So it can be really challenging. And so I hope that today's episode just gives you a brief glimpse. I mean, this is housing. There's other topics that they're also voting on that we have no idea about.
Right, and it doesn't affect us as much, and so we're not as concerned. And I will say this as well. I think it's important if you're an advocate, you look at your state legislator, whatever that's happening, but also don't be afraid to go to at your federal level. Start connecting with your congressmen and senators. I mean, we do that a lot, actually, and we just tell them about our successes. We're not pushing an agenda, but we're saying stuff like, hey, did you know? Or we're doing this, and we have almost an 80% success rate with our families when we put them through our programs and through our housing. When we do that, that helps you, that helps our community, that helps our country. Don't be afraid to advocate at every level. And we did it. So for us, we just showed up there one day a couple of years ago. We had no planned thing. We weren't part of a group like we are now. We just showed up and said, hello. We didn't even know we had to make appointments. We literally shoved our way around. Yeah. And the one guy, we had to chase him up the stairs for him to let us testify. I thought I was going to die of a heart attack. Have you ever been to the Topeka courthouse? Them stairs are unbelievable. But he was racing up and down the stairs, and I'm like, and trying to talk, right?
Yeah.
And so, so we did it like how we do everything. We just jump in and then worry about how to swim later and hope somebody throws us a life raft, which we met a guy who did. Yeah. And so don't be afraid to advocate at that level. You are important. What you have to say matters. And don't be afraid to advocate for things that you really believe in.
Well, and the other side of that is we've been told by more than one legislator that they hear from lobbyists all the time. They want to hear from their constituents. They want to hear from the person that lives down the road from them or the people that live in the city that they are representing to know, how is this going to impact you? How do you feel about this? If they don't hear from you, they don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's really important. Don't be afraid. Whatever it is, if it's housing, maybe it's mental illness, maybe it's addiction.
Maybe it's seniors.
It could be anything. But if you have a problem with something, talk to your legislators. Tell them what's going on. And, you really have more if you have a group. Now we have Kahan, and they're up there more than we're up there. And so we can all join together and say, here's what needs to happen. Here's our stories. This is what's happening. We can talk about Mary and John and whoever and say, here's some real stories of what's happening, and this is why it's so important.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah, so those are some good bills, so we'll see what happens. I don't really actually know what's happened with any of these, but hopefully we'll get some of them passed. I think we had more bills this year than we've ever had up at in Topeka, so that was good news that we're actually making some progress, and They're connected to a couple senators that are sponsoring these, and so that's really cool.
Yeah, it's been really fun to watch it kind of grow and progress. So, well, that is our episode for this week. Thank you to our guest, Chris Goodson.
What? And Karolyn Moore, because I didn't talk by myself.
If you would be interested in being on our podcast, Housing for Good, drop us a line, leave us a review. Hey, give us a question to answer that you want to know about. And you can do all of that at housingforgood@mcphersonhc.org.
And have a great day.